So, welcome to another edition of Real Talk with Real People, a candid conversation with Dr. Karoline Bethea-Jones. You are listening to Authors Speak. I am your host, Karoline Bethea-Jones, and my co-host, Renee Marshall McKinley, is not with me today, but she will be back next week. So tonight, my guest is Miss Jacqueline Williams. She is the author of Overcomer, a book that focuses on her life and strength. And Jacqueline is here to talk about her book and how she overcame a serious illness. So we're going to welcome her to the space and let her share her story with us. Jacqueline, how are you?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to come. Now, we love to have authors on this show because we love to give authors an opportunity to introduce their work, to talk about how they began their writing process, and to tell us their story. Now, you have a wonderful, and not the sense in which I said it, but a wonderful, meaning a big, wonderful story to tell. And I love the whole idea of overcoming. That's what we must all do, overcome whatever circumstances that are thrown at us. So I am ready to get started to hear your story, and you can begin wherever you're most comfortable.
Okay. I start with I was born with a severe illness. In the 1950s and 60s, there was a drug called thalidomide. This drug came from Germany, and it was put on the market to 46 states. But in America, the FDA did not approve of it. And this medicine was for mothers who were pregnant and had a very bad case of morning sickness. This drug did a lot of damage to babies that were born. When they were born, about 10,000 babies were affected and died shortly after birth. And this drug caused babies to have no arms, no legs, disfigured faces. A lot of their internal organs was, damaged. How this drug became to come into the United States, this man by the name of Richard Morel, he had a wholesale business in Germany, so he decided to send 2.5 million pills to the United States, to American doctors, to clinics, and doctors' offices. And so my mom, when her and my father met at this cosmetology school, so she became pregnant. And when I was born, when she became pregnant, she had a bad case of morning sickness. And so someone took her to this women's clinic, and they offered her the drug called thalidomide. So when I was born, my feet was turned backwards. And my mother had to lay me like on a little scooter because of the fragile of my legs and my feet. And my parents had to take me. They took me from doctors to doctors, which told them that I would never walk or reach the adulthood. I wouldn't live to reach adulthood. But my mother and father took me to this hospital called Le Bonheur Children's Hospital, which was a pediatric hospital for children that had chronic diseases. And that was also where the surgeries began as well. So there was hope by the grace of God. The doctors were able to turn my feet around. But I still had a long journey for them to helped me to walk on my own. I came from braces, crutches, wheelchairs, and walkers. I spent a lot of my childhood, a lot of my childhood in the hospital. I when I became a child of school age, I didn't go to school because of the number of surgeries that I had to have. I have had 24 major surgeries. So, as my time in the hospital, God made a way for me to have schooling there. My mother, she left me, so she didn't want me, so she left me in the care of my father. My father continued to go to this barber school, but after that, uh, the instructor there, Miss Hazel Foster, offered her husband to take my father to my scheduled surgery times and checkups and to the doctors. But after a while, things began to change. My father, he could no longer, continue to take me back and forth because of the gas prices. So it was this hospital called Crippled Children's Hospital. This hospital was a hospital where parents could leave their children that live distant, far distance without any cost. So he had to leave me there. I was there among doctors and nurses, strangers, me and the other children, but they took good care of us. The doctors and nurses, they were on their call 24 hours, taking care of us. But the nurses would get me up early in the morning and the other children and take our baths and put us in our beds and roll us into this dining hall where we had breakfast. We had oatmeal and bacon and eggs and toast. But after that, they would put us back in our beds and roll us to this big old replica room, like of the White House, it looked like. And that's where we had our schooling at. So after that, um, time went on where, I could go home some, for a period of time until it was time for me I stayed home until I healed from my surgeries. And then I had to go back to the hospital. So it was a back and forth, thing. But, God, he allowed the doctors to allow me to walk, and I had my last surgery when I was in the 6th grade,
Okay.
and the 7th grade I was able to not walk with anything. I could walk on my own. So today I am uh, 57 years old, and how the drug affected me now is it stumped my growth. I stand 4 feet tall. I have long arms and short legs. I can walk on my own, but I can't bend my legs. I have to use my hands to, pull up off the couch or the bed or going up the stairs. I have to use my hands. This drug caused I walk with a limp, and it caused my heart. I had a heart murmur, so I had to have immediate surgery because one of my valves had closed up on me. And now I still have another heart murmur, but by the grace of God, He allowed me to live to tell my testimony. And that's not all I went through, but I don't know how far you want me to go into my story. Do you want me to go further or
Let's break up some things. Let's because I am so happy that you can tell a story, because this could have went so many different ways. But you are here by God's grace to be able to tell your story, and of course I want you to share it. So I also want you to talk about your book itself, the writing process, and what inspired you, other than the fact that you wanted to tell your story, to actually become an author? Now, is this your first book? Is this your first?
Yes, this is my first book, and I did not have any intention of writing a book. How this book came together was one day my typing teacher, God had placed her in my life for a season, and she called me on the phone one day and she said, "You know, Jackie, you ought to put your life story in a book." And I'm like, "Me?" I thought that was way over my head. I'm like, not me. But I didn't tell her that. But I just said, yes, ma'am. And so after I got off the phone with her, as time went on, I kept hearing in my spirit, write a book, write a book, write a book. And I said, Lord, I don't know how to write a book. And so I had to change my mindset in the way of speaking. And when I use the scripture that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me, that's when God and the Holy Ghost came in and gave me the information, showed me how to get the information to put this book together and the format and everything. And that's how the book came together.
Okay. And did you self-publish the book, or did you go through a publisher?
Self-published.
Okay, very good. So let's talk a little bit about the book. Let's talk about what you put in it. What did you tell your entire story from start to finish, or did you just highlight certain aspects to give people information and knowledge about the drug? I want to know more about the drug itself.
Oh, I did both. I told my whole life story and I told the whole information about the drug. It's all in the book.
Oh, okay, very good. So, what else do you want to talk about? What do you want the audience?
So the drug, this drug, the linamide, it today is still out there. This drug is still out there, but it is used for like cancer and other diseases. And I pray every day that this drug does not affect anybody else. And so I can continue to tell my story on as my father, after me and my father, when he finished the cosmetologist school that he was going to, he finally got an apartment and we stayed in that apartment. And he started out to be a good father, but after a while, things began to change. He became an alcoholic and he began to leave me at home by myself. And one day he left me at home by myself with the lights off and the TV on, and I would just talk to God. I'm about 5 or 6 years old, and I'm talking to God. A 5 or 6 year old child talking to God. And if he didn't leave me at home by myself, he would leave me with strangers, and they would be downstairs doing their own thing and put me upstairs, and I would still talk to God. And God would show me, I I never I talked to him. You know how little kids use imaginary friends.
Yeah.
That's how I was with God. That was my only way of releasing things and just talking to him. Even though I didn't understand him or anything, I would just talk to God. And some one time, my father left me with some babysitters, and they told me to go take a nap. And this one, it was two of them, two girls, and one of them came in the bedroom and had a pillow and just tried to smother me. But God. See, and see in my story, when you read my story, you will see the display of God's power, where when the enemy was trying to take my life from the womb on out, God's displaying of his power was protecting me. And he prevailed himself over me, against the enemy. He
Yes.
was really trying to take me out. And that's what I want people to see in my book, that not just me, but him, what he did and what he can do for them, and how through his strength, only through his strength, I was able to become that overcomer. We can't do it on our own. So as I got older and became a teenager, I I was going to school, and my father met this young lady, and she had about 7 kids, so we all moved in together, and things began to get worse. He began to abuse me. He began to beat me every day for nothing, especially when I came home from school. He would beat me every day. And I mean, for no apparently reason. And one day I wanted to go to the movies, and my stepsisters and brothers wanted to go to the skate ring, and I couldn't skate because of my legs. And he got upset about that, and he came out the door, got opened the car door. I was in the car, and he pulled me out on the ground and just started beating me, beating me, beating me. And so one day I got on the school bus, and this is how God opened the door to rescue me and deliver me from this.
Yes.
I got on the bus, and the bus driver, she kept looking at me, and she said, it looks like I know you. And I said, oh. And she said, who are your parents? So I told her who my parents was on my mother's side. And she said, don't you know we're kin? And I said, no. She said, would you like to come over to my house and we can spend some time together? So I asked my father, so he allowed it. And that opened the door there.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
hey, that opened the door there for me to tell her what was going on about the abuse of my father abusing me. So she called my grandparents on my mother's side. And so after that, he beat me one more time. And he hit me in my nose, and blood started coming out of my nose. My nose started bleeding. And I heard the Lord so clearly say, I got to get you out of here before he kill you. And so the next day, that's when my grandparents came. But he did tell me, he told me, my father told me, he said, no matter where you are, I will find you, and I will beat you, and I will beat you. And so, when you tell a person something like that, that sticks with them. That sticks with them. And I had to go through that every time, when I'm somewhere. I had to look over my shoulders, so to speak, to see, was he there? Was he around? Or I'll be scared to have the windows open. I will have to close the windows or the blinds or the curtains, because I didn't want him to find me because of what he put in my mind. That's why it's so vitally important we be careful what we say to people, because that sticks with that person.
Yeah.
So when my mother and father, when my grandparents got there, they picked me up, and I thought, everything was over then, but it wasn't. It wasn't over. I thought, now I'm released from this, but my grandparents was telling me, when we get you to our house, your mother lives behind us, and she don't want you at her house. Now that was devastating news.
It was.
She don't want to. She don't want to have nothing to do with me at all. So
Wow.
I had to
How old
stay
were
with.
you at that point? How old were you? I just want to set a timeline. How old were you at that point?
I was beginning to enter high school, so I'm about 16, 2016 or 17 now. And so I had to live with my auntie, and things wasn't really going well with that. I had to deal with her attitude. So after that, I'm just speeding it up some. I'm about to graduate high school now. So I end up getting pregnant, And my grandparents and my mother, they didn't want me to keep this baby. So they tricked me one morning and told me they was going to the store, but they went to the welfare office. And so when they got to the welfare office, we went in and the social worker asked me to come in. She said, "What is going on?" And I said, "My grandparents and my mother don't want me to, take to keep this child because they don't believe that I can raise this child up." And so uh, the social worker said, "Don't give up your baby. I believe you can raise this child." And so I walked out the door and I heard the voice of the Lord again. He said, "Don't give up your baby." And so when I got back to my auntie house, now she has moved out and she left with this guy, and she leaves the house with me. Everything is on me. So I went to bed one night and I woke up the next morning. I heard something say, "Shoo!" And I looked down and and it was blood at the end of my bed. It was just rolling down. And I called the clinic and they sent an ambulance to pick me up. And when I got to the clinic, it wasn't nothing they could do for me. They put Pampers on me because I was bleeding that bad. So they had to rush me to another hospital, which they couldn't do anything for me. So they had to rush me to this hospital in Memphis called the Med. And they could finally, help me. And I was 3 months pregnant, and I had to stay at the Med until 8 months until they took my baby earlier. So they finally stopped the bleeding. They had to give me blood. And I sit up in the bed one night and I said, "Lord, if you save me and my baby, I will praise you the rest of my life." And how many of you know that God will send confirmation after you prayed and talked to him? So the next morning, this woman comes into my room, and I believe today she was an angel, but she didn't know me and I didn't know her. And she said, "The Lord said everything's going to be all right." And she began to dance in my room. And then she prayed for me and she walked out the door. And
That,
so ma'am,
that was it. You didn't see her again after that?
I never see her again. I didn't know her. She didn't know me at all.
Okay.
And so after that, I went back to my auntie house, and she didn't want me there no more. So I had to try to make it on my own because I had to raise myself up because I had no parents, I had no family, so I had to try to grow up fast on my own. And I would begin to start looking for love in the wrong places, because I wasn't angry at anybody. I didn't have no unforgiveness in my heart, but I was hurt.
Yeah.
I had, open wounds and a hurt heart. And so what I decided to do was mind block all this. And I said, well, if I I put a bandage on it by stepping into these other relationships. And I said, this will heal it. I'll be better, by stepping into all these relationships. But come to find out, the abuse that came from my father fell into these other relationships with these guys and friends that I connected with. These guys, they would abuse me physically or mentally, put guns, knives on me, and friends that I met, they took advantage of me, manipulated me, and I just wanted to fit in. I really didn't care how they really treated me. You know how you just want to fit in, you want to feel that love, and that really wasn't love. That was abuse.
Yes, that was. Did you have the baby?
I had the baby at 8 months. They took the baby. I had to have a cesarean. And they took him at 8 months, and he was a healthy baby boy, 8 pounds and 8 ounces.
Okay.
I mean, 5 pounds and 8 ounces. And He's a minister today, and he goes around and preach the gospel, and he's a blessing to me. And I thank God, I didn't give my baby away. It's so important. You don't know who you giving up. We don't need to just listen to those voices, or if we're afraid that we can't raise a child up. God helped me raise my baby up. He never let me be without nothing with him, with my son, and he never let me be without. We always had everything we needed. And he showed me how to raise him up in him.
Beautiful. And how old is he now?
He's 33.
Okay. All right. Very
So what I had to do, God spoke to me one day and he said, Jackie, nobody can love you like I can. Nobody can never love you, give you that love that you want. And when he said that, I let everybody go. I let everything go. I had to bury my past. I had to, so to speak, have a funeral for my past. And I had to ask God to give me the strength to walk away from my past. And then I had to tell God to deliver me.
yeah,
Not pointing the finger at nobody else, do a whole new makeover in me. And
absolutely.
that's what he did. And I gave my life totally to him.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the book publishing, how you put the pages of the book together. Did you write the book yourself, or did you have someone help you write that?
I wrote the book myself, but editing the book and formatting the book, God told me that my son would help me do that part, and which he did not know how to do it. But he said, Mama, I don't know how to format or edit a book. And I said, God said he was going to give you the wisdom to do it. So God did that part with him as he helped me to, put the words together and get the information to put into the book.
Okay. And how long did it take you to put it all together?
Believe it or not, it took 2.5 weeks to put this book together.
2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks. And nobody never believed this, but I'll tell you, every night, the Holy Spirit, even in my sleep, he would tell me what to write, and I had to get up and write that book. It was like my mind was running, and I just did what he said, everything. It did not take long to put that book together
Okay.
at all.
All right. That's good. But we always ask that question for our listeners who may be looking to write a book themselves. We're always trying to encourage individuals to write a book, write a short story, write a poem, just write. So, another question we ask our authors: when you first started writing, did you start writing a journal? Did you keep a journal of everything that was happening with you? Did you write it all down?
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay. And so it was from your journal that you were able to pull the information from your journal into a book?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good. All right. So I'm just trying to think of all the things that I don't want to miss. I want to make sure that we're getting in all the information that you want to give in. So what else do you want to say to us about what are you doing right now? Where is Jackie right now? After everything that you've gone through in your life, you obviously overcame it. Where are you right now?
I'm right now in a place when I didn't know who I really was in God. I had an identity crisis. So God allowed me to meet this woman online, and she became my spiritual mother. And the gift that God gave her in order to teach me how to know who I was in Christ, and become this watchman and this prophet of God in my life. She helped me she had the key to my deliverance. She had the key to my identity crisis to help me and teach me. So I sit up under her and allowed the Holy Ghost to, teach me. And so now I'm in a place that I have my own ministry. Um, Right now, I am a watchman. I'm an intercessor, and I stay before God and pray for the people or the nation or whoever He tells me to pray for.
Okay.
And I have a healing and deliverance ministry.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your ministry. Where is it online?
Yes, it's online.
How could individuals find you if they wanted to?
Oh, they could find me on Facebook, Watchman Marie on Facebook, or they could YouTube Watchman Marie, or they can find me on Instagram Watchman Marie as well.
Okay. Very good. Well, okay. I don't want to leave anything out. So, is there anything else you want us to know?
Just want the people to know out there that oh people are. I know my book is relevant right now because there's so many people. Life has brought challenges and are still bringing challenges to their lives, and coming. Life is not always fair.
Yes.
It doesn't hand out a great deal of a card, and my book is relevant to let people know that they can overcome, but not in their own strength. They have to get into a place to find God and that peace and that healing and deliverance. See, you have to be delivered. See, God can bring you out of a situation, but when He brings you out from the situation and from the people or the place or whatever it may be, you still have the injuries. See, when He delivered me from that, I still had the injuries, but I had to allow Him to heal me. Inner healing. We have to have an inner healing and deliverance. And so I tell the people, allow God to deliver you and heal you,
Right.
because relationships, people, or sex, or drugs, or whatever is not going to replace that empty void. It's only God.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for sharing your story. And I want to thank you for also ministering to the souls of individuals who may be listening to this. Um, you've been listening to Real Talk, Real People, a candid conversation with Dr. Karoline Bethea-Jones. My guest tonight was Miss Jacqueline Williams, and she is here to tell us her story about how she overcame. I'm glad you overcame. I am glad that you were able to pull yourself out of the fire, not alone, of course, because we know that you have relied heavily on God, and I rely heavily on God as well. So I want to thank you for sharing that piece of the story too, so that everybody will know how you got over. You know, how I got over. You want everyone to know how you got over, and you didn't do it by yourself. So thank you for being our guest today, and I wish you nothing but the best. And you gonna write more books, or is this a one and done?
Whatever, if God allow and say do it again, I'll do it again.
Okay. Well, that's good. Well,
Thank you for having me.
thank you for being here.